the intro worked. And we're recording.
Yay!
Welcome, guys. Woo!
Alrighty, everyone. This is going to be a quick episode. Howdy, howdy. We have a special guest today, Dawn Johnson from TikTok. Uh, I have known her for about a year now, year and some change, and she is very well versed. She has a lot of experience, and brought her on as a guest to share her opinion, but then also explain some items on the Epstein files. So, without further ado, Dawn, if you want to quick introduction of yourself, and then we can go straight into it.
Sure. Don Johnson, and I have been studying serial killers, deviant psychology, victimology, and serial predation for about 35 years now, professionally and amateur-wise. And when I say that, you have to differentiate because one you don't get paid for, one you do. I have done profiles of unsubs that were actually used for training. And prior to them actually having profilers in every location now, back in the day before it was actually known, I was actually working with all the way up to Interpol when it came to human trafficking and assisting with the breaking down and breaking out of human traffickers, especially from the Asian corridor. So I've got a lot of information, a lot of experience with this. Jumping right into it, this is something, to be perfectly honest, this is a subject we could be doing hundreds of hours. I have hundreds of hours that have been dedicated to this. But when people talk about Epstein, which is what you guys were discussing originally, you kind of have to take a jump back. Back in the 70s, we had a string of serial killings that occurred primarily along the West Coast that were popularized by the media. And what I mean by that is that they were going all over. It's just the media chooses which ones to focus on. And it was there was a section between Washington, California, and Utah that they called the Bloody Triangle that actually they were really concentrating on when it came to the media at that point. Now, there were others that occurred, of course. I'm sure people are going to bring them up, but that's what we're talking about. There was, in 1977, David Berkowitz, who was known as the Son of Sam, or the 44 caliber killer, was arrested. This man had been arraigned to care, and I realize this is New York. I know I was talking about the West Coast. We'll get there. He had been arrested after parking tickets were found at two of the scenes from his car, and that's when they realized that this individual was actually attached to it. He had been so omnipotent during his crime spree that in an active investigation, right after killing a victim, he had walked up to the cop car and asked the officer what was going on, if he could, what the situation was. The officer looked at him and said, "Hey, we're looking for XYZ." Unfortunately, the person had given a report of the unsub as being black, so they did not correlate him with it, but he literally looked at the officer and said, "Nope, I haven't seen anything," and calmly walked away. There's a reason why I bring this up. When he was arrested and he was on trial, one of the things he said is that his next door neighbor's dog named Sam was actually possessed by a demon and had been giving him orders to kill. Now, everybody was looking at this as the insane defense because trying to get not guilty by reason of insanity, except he then proceeded to talk about a network of Sons of Sams throughout the United States, primarily a hotbed in the LA area of serial killers that were being groomed, and they were being created by the satanic cult. Now, the book you can, what was that?
I said, sounds familiar.
Yes.
Go ahead.
The book that you can read that deals primarily with him and his allegations was called The Ultimate Evil. You can find it anywhere. My copy is actually signed by one of the founders of the behavioral science unit, Quantico, and he was one of the two that actually started the profiling of serial killers.
That was Ultimate Evil?
It's called Ultimate Evil, The Search for the Sons of Sam. Now, After giving this report, he then did a secondary interview where he was discussing the rituals that went into it. And the rituals that he described, which are in the book, you will find are very familiar to those of us who have been reading the Epstein files. Primarily children, sacrifice, trying to keep this PG as much as possible, the cannibalism, ritualistic sexual torture, this type of thing. 2 days after giving his report in 1979, while he was in public, he had an individual who had absolutely no grip with him, no problem with him. Out of nowhere, this individual came up and slashed his throat. Now, it did not kill him. It was a warning. He shut down and he refused to talk about it since. So there was an investigation that went in during this time frame between 1977 and 1982. There was an investigation of multiple law enforcement officers, especially around the LA area, that were concentrating on these satanic cult allegations. And out of this, there were 4 stories that came out that were very prevalent. Two of the stories were by the children coming out saying this is what they were raised with, and they were very cavalier about it. They were there was no horror. It was very much, this is what daddy did with me, this is what mommy did with me, this is how we did what we did. And if you've read the Epstein files, then you understand what I'm talking about when it comes to the children and the cannibalism.
Yeah.
The investigators were so horrified that they turned this into a federal investigation, and the federal investigation came back and said they were lack of evidence, that it was trauma allegations from basic child abuse. The children were put in the system, and they were it was quashed. Now you can still find videotape out there of these interviews, but you will find that if you look them up and you look at the individuals, they have all been basically said that they were hype posts and that they were there for sensationalism. Now the last two that I'm talking about, one was a woman and one was a man who said they've been raised in these cults. Now this is where we're getting into remember I was talking about the hotbed and now we're jumping.
Yeah.
One of those individuals came forward and was talking about a up and coming, out of nowhere individual who seemed to have a lot of attachments when it came to the scene by the name of Epstein.
Ooh.
The individual, after that interview, and I have looked in the archives, I remember that interview vividly. Okay, we actually used it in 2 of my psychology classes that I took when it came to dealing with serial predation. You can't find it now. It has been scrubbed from the archives. It has been scrubbed from the internet. It has been completely blazed. However, this individual had a picture of him standing to a very young individual who looked very charismatic, and you can tell it is Epstein. So this is something that's been going on for quite some time, and he has been on the scene for quite some time. There is a very real possibility Epstein was, in fact, raised in a satanic cult, and what he is doing is simply what he was trained to do.
Right. Which I absolutely, I believe you 100%. I just, I wanted to put that out there because I have been doing a lot of research for many, 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 many years on Epstein, and I know that it really starts in the 70s, but I didn't know what you've been talking about, so I'm loving this. So feel free to go on. I'm sitting here loving it.
One of the things that I find interesting is that we get these surges where we get these pop-offs in different areas where they start talking about satanic rituals and satanic cults. And the first thing that happens is that the Church of Satan comes out and says, we're not affiliated. That is nothing that we're doing. They're right. They're not. Okay. The Church of Satan is completely different from these occults. Okay. The Church of Satan is teaching that you are the God, that Satan is your guide, if you will. And the only thing I can say, and I'm not saying this in a negative manner, I'm saying it's just the way the religion is, that it's very, very your main character. Anything that you do, right or wrong, doesn't matter as long as you can prosper. Okay. Will they condone murder? Sure. Okay. But it's not something that they have to do these ritualistic cult sacrifices, et cetera, to be in the church. People need to keep those separate for a reason. Anytime these occults come up, these actual satanic rituals that are truly attached to Satan, Baal, Baphomet, whatever you want to call at that time, the Church of Satan takes the hit. And what people do is that they stigmatize it and they desensitize it by getting into that side argument. So keep them separate, number one. Number two, anytime these ritualistic things occur, what I've seen law enforcement do, and I find it's very interesting, especially the higher you go up, they love to throw around words like isolated incident, undocumented, unreported, sensationalization. They like to downplay it dramatically. And what will initially start out as a cult killing or a cult case, they will tear apart and they will turn it into a basic, they'll either call it a serial killer, or they will turn it into that was child abuse. It was horrific. It was sad, but it was just a child abuse case. Don't look behind the curtain.
Right.
So this whole thing has been from the beginning, and it goes way beyond the 70s. I mean, we've got in the 50s, we have some of these popping up. It's just harder to track them in the 50s because they weren't as documented, as they were starting in the 70s. The first time that I've actually found an honest case that I would consider to be linked in the string of cult killings that I have been able to say, yes, this is directly related, was in 1822. And the only reason we can relate that to it is because of what happened to the body. It was sensationalized, but back then, I would say almost the innocence of how they reported things. They didn't realize what they were reporting. And the information, but it came from Baltimore, Maryland. And there were two hangings that occurred because they called them witches and attached to that case. And then you don't hear anything else. But everything they talked about, an underground temple, they talked about children involved. They talked about individuals who were cannibalistic. And that's how they found the body. So 1812 was the first time I've actually found something that links. So there are other cases out there that I'm careful and hesitant to link to this because you do have your individuals who happen. Ted Bundy was not part of this, but he was still a very horrific individual who cannibalized. So we have to be very careful about bringing them in. But this has been going on for, this is nothing new. And the fact that people are so desensitized to it now because of what we have been prepping for and what we've been prepared for by the media and by others just simply means they're hoping it goes through another cycle of dying down and people forgetting so that it can resurge with another Epstein.
Right.
Correct. And that's exactly what we both have been connecting the dots to. Quick question. Is there a name that you can recall from the 1812 incident?
I'd have to look at my research. I'd have to go ahead and pull out my archives. I have, let's see here. Let me see if I got it here.
Oh.
We have a couple of hard drives that I have stuff on, and it's not because I'm trying to hide it. It's just when we first talked, when we first talked, you were talking about us doing a vaccine injury thing. So that's what I was prepping for.
It's all good. So as an overview, for anyone listening, 1812, Baltimore, Maryland, and two, I'm guessing, women who were hanged. So if you want to do your own research into that, by all means, we're here to find the truth, and if we can connect the dots as a people,
I might actually be able to pull up. In 1812, Baltimore victim of cults.
And all of this, people, this is for you guys. We're just two amateurs. We're actually working on a big project, and we're going to be launching that pretty soon. But this is a special episode, so just want to share this with everyone, and help us help you. We're here to dig for the truth.
One of the things that you'll find interesting about that, because I just looked it up here just while you were talking, is the only thing you're going to find on the net from a generic AI and real quick point of view is that in 1812, there was the riots. 1812 to 1814, all the news superimposed at that time was about the Baltimore riots. They do not have anything else on there. So you actually have to go to the archives. I will look it up and I'll go ahead and send it to you on what I have. Because what I did is I actually went through historical documentation and I went through actual library archives to find this information.
Very interesting.
Well, it's typical. It's typical.
No, correct. It's a bit of a shame, though, that a lot of this information has been scrubbed, and for the powers at be, the individuals, the entities that are involved in this. I mean, this is nothing new to us, but for anyone listening, this being scrubbed from the internet is very real. So we're reaching out to anyone who's interested, and you know what? The more hands, the more eyes, the more digging we can do together. This is exactly what we're digging for.
Absolutely. I also want to mention that Maxwell's father, Robert Maxwell, is a good reason why a lot of this stuff that should be in our school is not. Why a lot of our history is flawed. So.
Well, if you want to watch it real time, if you honestly want to watch real time how this occurs when people believe it doesn't, we all have been following the case of Renee Good. My daughter just brought this to my attention this morning. We've all been following the Minnesota shooting of Renee Good. It's all over. We've seen it. We saw the DOH. We saw the DOJ. We saw the reports. If you go to the government websites right now, you can't pull it up.
I wonder why.
The
Department of Justice, DOH, ICE, all of them. When you put in her name, you cannot find anything, and the FBI, and there is only correlations to news articles that not on those websites. You can go search news articles about it, but what the news articles are now saying is that any and all information on that the FBI is refusing to release.
I wonder.
And that literally just happened. If people really want to see it in real time.
Are we surprised about this? Are we surprised about this? I know I'm not. Meg, are you surprised?
I'm not, because I have a whole theory on that, and the less information that they give us, the less likely I can prove my theory.
Well, what they like to do, one of the things that we have noticed about the media is, and this is something that actually was a social experiment that was done, and it started once more back in the 70s, subliminally and other ways, but they actually use it now on a regular basis. What happens is that they will push emotional hype. They'll push emotionally charged subjects, and they'll just shove it in our face until we're like bleeding at the eyes, and then they'll just wipe it. Now you can't do any rational research. Now you can't go back and actually see what's going on. You're charged, your emotion, and now they're going to shove something else in your face that's emotional. Now they're going to go ahead and give you something else. As long as they keep you in that reactionary stage as a society, we don't stop and say, wait, stop. Why are you doing this?
Something else for those listening, whether domestically in the United States or if you are listening, watching overseas, here is my request that if you are following any of the United States news, my request is for you to save anything and everything you find that is immediately released, save it on a cold storage offline so that you have it saved. Because as Dawn showed, everything now, because we are in a digital world, digital era, everything that pertains to some underground cult is being scrubbed. So my request is for you to save anything and everything immediately.
I also want to mention it is a huge factor when you think of overseas. You can absolutely be helpful because you aren't censored like a lot of other countries, including ours, are. It is a huge problem here when it comes to getting the right information on the news. So, if you have any tips, anything that's going on in your news that's super wild about this shit, feel free to share it to the email down at the bottom of the screen. And of course, follow, like, share, all that lovely shit. Send us hate mail. We don't even care. Just send us something. But yeah, and back to the podcast.
If you really piggybacking on what you just said, if you really want to understand the true breadth of the horror of what we're dealing with and why so many of us are saying burn it all to the ground and start over, we're all concentrating on Epstein. We're all concentrating on what's going on here because it's right now in our face. We recently, September 2025, had a horrific case that hit the international headlines from China, and they have been trying to quash it like you will not believe. It is Yu Minglong. Now, for those who do not understand, I'm going to caution you. They are not as trigger warning as we are. You will see graphic and unedited details. So please, if you do go down that rabbit hole, just realize I have warned you. The short and sweet, Yu Minglong was an actor who was seen in quite a few C-dramas, Chinese dramas. He was well beloved. And September 2025, they said he, quote unquote, got drunk at a party and fell from a window to the cement below and died. Yep. Right afterwards, for want of a better word, snuff film was advertised across the world on the dark web for those who were willing to pay the price. And a Chinese citizen who was living in the United States at the time paid for it, bought it, and it was his death. Unedited. He was sacrificed. There's no other way to put it.
Yeah. His
case at that point now becomes insidious because basically what happened to him was right down in the Epstein aisle. I'm not saying Epstein was involved. I'm saying it's very aligned with what's going on with him. But he his body ended up being sold on the market, and his effects were found in a museum that has some very disturbing displays, to the point that they've actually had some people accuse the museum of using their missing family members as actual displays, which goes back to America because we have that as well. Mm-hmm. This is global. This is not just a small, you cannot close your eyes to this. This is literally an entire elite sect that has been living off of us as if we are cattle. And it's
off of our energy, off of our, blood, off of our human meat. Like, it's really fucking deep. And a lot of people don't realize like how grotesque and how awful this is. And honestly, like, what can we do, especially when we're talking about something that has been going on for centuries, if not hundreds of years?
The only thing that the common individual can do at this point, on my personal view, there's two things that we can do. One, we can protect ourselves locally. Hey, I protect my family. I feel good. Okay, fine. We have got to band together. We have got to put aside the pettiness. We have got to put aside the political, the religion. We've got to put aside whatever that we have of our viewpoints, and we need to come together as a society. And I'm talking global society. They call us online netizens. Anybody who's on the net, we're netizens. Okay, fine. We need to come together and not just demand, because demanding is only going to give us the answers they think that's going to make us go away.
Right.
We almost need to do a French Revolution. The problem is finding out who we need to revolt against, because these people are in the shadows. They are not the sort. We hear about Soros. He's a great target. We hear about Epstein. Epstein is a small middleman in this whole thing.
Right, right. So, like, what I have been recently talking about in the past couple of days with a few of my friends is where do we start? Like, because, yeah, we could go out and protest in the fucking street, but yet, how long is that going to go on until, people are getting unalived in the street? Fuck, it's not TikTok. Dying in the street. Anyway, I've been telling people, start protesting the businesses that were in those files. McDonald's, friggin' start protesting Pink or Victoria's Secrets or Abercrombie and Fitch. Like, really start putting your money where it's worth going to.
Correct.
Basically, you want to do a Budweiser boycott every business that's in these files.
And what you want to do is when you're doing it, you want to demand arrests, not terminations, not removals, arrests. Now, here's the thing. You got to be careful with this. And the reason being is because every time that we find a target, okay, Epstein went down. Do you think that when he went down that the program behind the scenes stopped?
No.
They knew. They already had protocols in place. When he went down, and by the way, if you look at the files, he may not be dead. They have seen some pictures of him in Tel Aviv that look very similar. But
we've seen some pictures, so
yes,
yeah.
But the thing is that somebody else already took his place. There is no way you can tell me that this organization that's been around for centuries all of a sudden went, oh goodness, we have to stop. It may have been.
Right. Especially when you look into the files and you see how many other people had fucking islands.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it wasn't just Epstein's islands. Like, there are multiple. And it's happening on farms, ranches. They're happening within our friggin' CPS system, through our tracking our missing kids system, through taking pictures of our kids' systems. Like, there's so many things. I don't know if you heard about this. I heard about it right before I came on here. But a bunch of schools had picture day tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And they were with Life Touch, and parents are standing up and saying shit. So a bunch of schools have canceled picture day because of this. And I'm like, let's go. No more picture day. No more
one boycott.
Well, there's another thing to take into consideration with this too.
Protect your children.
Yeah.
Protect your children.
There's another thing to take into consideration with this too, guys. And that is, I want you to seriously, honestly take a look at the caliber of what has been going on in our entertainment industry that people are accepting. The Bad Bunny show that just occurred is a prime example. That is a family-orientated. NFL is one of our pastimes. This is known. We have people justifying the dancing and the dressing and the way that they were gyrating on the floor. It doesn't matter what he was saying. It doesn't matter if he was censored or not. The entire thing was basically an adult show that was highly inappropriate for children, and people are justifying it, trying to make it acceptable. We have become so conditioned as a society to accept this that when we truly see evil, we are now becoming so desensitized that we were not going to fight back against it unless we hear about something horrific. I mean, think about this. In the 1950s, if you would have seen the parades that could happen in San Francisco, the naked parades that happened in San Francisco, what do you think would have happened?
Oh, he immediately shut down. And immediately shut down.
Yeah. 1970s, they started kind of accepting it, saying, you know what, this is it's their freak on. San Francisco's freaky. We're going to go ahead and allow it. 1990s comes along, and it's now, they're advertising it, they're displaying it. Hey, bring your kids. Now 2020, they are advocating for it.
Right.
So our protesting, what we consider to be abhorrent today, 10 years down the road, they're going to accept. So that's another key that we have to put into this. We need to do a shake up and a wake up and make people realize that we are actually advocating for our own demise and to be treated like cattle when we accept these moral codes that are being placed upon us as stigmas for freedom or stigmas of freedom of expression, or you should just go along with it because if not, you are insert here, whatever name. Because as long as we continue to go down that road, and I'm not by no means, I've made this very clear in everything that I have said, I am not a Christian. I am a pagan. There is a critical reason I bring that up, because one of the things that's thrown in people's faces is that you're trying to use a Christian moral code. No, I am using a human moral code. So that's it. We've just become cattle. We are now the Eloi, and they are the Murlocs. And anybody who's read The Time Machine knows what I'm talking about.
Right. So I want to say this.
I recognize that.
Because I know Nerd has to go soon.
Sure.
But like, I really want to push on the fact of, boycotting. That is how we start to make a difference. And we will not, especially in these certain companies, the ones that are on the list, fuck them, boycott them forever. But other companies that want to support and do the same methods or whatever will boycott you too until something is fucking done about this, until people are arrested, until people are done. Because I'm tired of billionaires getting my fucking dollars. I'm tired of these people getting my money to go and spend it on fucking kids. I'm over it.
Yep. No,
So
I agree with you wholeheartedly.
here's my final challenge. Here's my final challenge to everyone. Boycott the system.
Boycott the system. We got to make shirts, man. Boycott the system. I might need to.
All right.
I absolutely love it.
Thank you very much, Dawn. This has been amazing.
No, thank you very much for having me. Anytime you guys want, let me know. I'll be more than happy to go ahead and be on the show.
Absolutely. Definitely.
All right.
Thank you very much, guys. I'll talk to you later.